Hey guys, Ty with Cincy Diesel Repair. Today I'm going to be working on my truck, one of my trucks. It's a 6.7 liter Dodge 3500 Cummins diesel, 2010, and it's got 258,000 miles on it. Today the rocker box is leaking pretty bad, so let me show you what we're going to do here. Okay, so here it is, 2010. This truck has been pretty much completely trouble-free for me for 250. Well, I bought it used, and I think I had 80,000 on it when I bought it. It came from Texas, so it's still completely a rust-free truck. And we used this truck for hot shot when I had a trucking company, so it ran about 10,000 miles a month for a while, and pulling a gooseneck. And we didn't pull a small one, it was a 40-foot gooseneck. So total it pulled about 30,000 pounds every single day, all over the United States. When I bought it, it had all this stuff here missing, and it had a big tune in it, but it did not have head studs. So I think at 220,000 it blew the head gasket. It stretched the head bolts, blew the head gasket. Didn't overheat or anything like that, but it definitely blew the gasket. We were just getting combustion back into the chamber, or into the degas bottle here. Matter of fact, hold on a second. So here it is. I still have it, because this, well, it's not the gasket's fault. It was us running too much tuning, pulling that much weight. But this happened in North Dakota, and it cost me $3,000 to have this truck brought back by another hotshot. But you can see it obliterated the head gasket. So it was pushing between cylinders, and then let's see, where was it? Hell, I can't remember. But obviously it just obliterated the gasket, burn it up. So anyhow, what we did is we decked the head. I didn't fire ring it because this truck, it is tuned, but it's not pushing enough power that it needs to be over or fire ring or anything like that. I did put the big head studs in it, and it's been trouble-free for about 25,000 miles. I have one problem where you can see the coolant's low, and that's because the heater core is leaking. Not inside the cab, but it's leaking slowly for about the past 2 winters, and that's a whole nother issue I got to get to. But anyway, so we did some work to the head while it was off. We did some work to the turbo while it was off down there. I had to put a new actuator on the turbo, but mainly I use this truck for now pretty much haul mini excavators, skid steers. Every once in a while I'll haul something heavy, but nothing major. But anyhow, out of putting it back together, we did a few things like, oh, so it's rubbing there. The crankcase filter, this still has a crankcase filter. You can get a different valve cover to get rid of the crankcase filter, but I don't have any real reason to right at the moment. I got money that needs to go other places. But instead of routing it back into your air filter, or not your air filter, but your air intake, which it goes in right, I just saw it, right, I'll get my finger in here. Ooh, there it is. Right there, there's a plug I put in there. So that normally comes out and routes down into there, and then gets sucked back through the turbo, through the intercooler, and back in the motor. Well, it doesn't really hurt anything, but anyhow, this is just a piece of heater hose. Stick it on there, route it down, and I think it's actually pushed into the frame, if I remember right, down there. But it doesn't have anything that even comes out of it to hurt anything. I mean, hell, it's not, I mean, there's no oil. Tiny bit. So anyway, it's been great. Drive it every day pretty much. But the only issue I had after putting it all back together is the rocker box leaking. You can see on this side, it's leaking. It's not the valve cover. You got your crankcase ventilation filter here, valve cover gasket, rocker box as it's called. I think Cummins calls it something else, but that's what it is, your rocker box. It's leaking down through there, and you can see it's a little worse in the back right there. But over here is a totally different story. It's covered. So that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to tear this down. It's not a very hard project. Replace the rocker box gasket. Then after that, just I got to change the air filter, change the fuel filter, oil filter, change the oil. I think that's about it. So let's get started. Okay, so like I said, very easy. Got 8mm head bolts all the way around this thing. One back here, all the way around. So just zip out the bolts. And then remember that this one back here is the only one with a stud on it. And that's so that this wiring harness can sit down on there. Now pull your oil fill cap. That is your cover for your, remember to put your oil fill cap back on. Well, actually, you gotta get, this is the crankcase ventilation filter right here. So get that out of the way. Let's just see how much. It's getting there. If you look down in these things, this is the media that actually traps the oil vapor. And if you cut these suckers open, I mean, they're big, round. There's a lot to absorb there. But it's probably time to replace it. If you squeeze them and you can get a bunch of saturation out of it, you can feel it too. But anyhow, so I got that out of the way. Let me put the oil filter cap back on here. Don't want anything to go down in there yet. So, in case you didn't know, this is the oh hell, I'm gonna forget the name of it now. It's a pressure sensor to read if that filter gets plugged, your crankcase ventilation filter, crankcase pressure sensor right there. Look at that. That's your crankcase pressure sensor. So now we're going to remove the valve cover gasket. So we just got to unplug the harness here, and then we just got these 10mm bolts. We got 2 back here, 2 here, and 2 here, and we can go ahead and pull the valve cover out of the way. If you're getting a leak up high, it's this gasket for the crankcase ventilation filter, and they do go bad pretty often. Usually they'll start back here in the back leaking. Let's get the rest of this off here. Okay, the valve cover bolts are out, 2, 4, and 6. Make sure you unplug the harness there. The hose here for, again, crankcase ventilation. Make sure, see if I can do this one-handed here. These things get stuck on here pretty good. Make sure you get that popped off. Oh Lord, this fell. Okay, we're good. What's coming up? All right. Let me see if I can do this one-handed here. dumbass. Hey, don't forget to take off both of these. There we go. God. Alright. There we are. So, valve cover out of the way. Now, you can see the only thing else we got to remove is our injector harness, which is also your valve cover harness, or valve cover gasket, I mean. They're all, so you got to be careful when you're doing these zip ties get brittle. So, you have to take these connectors loose and then take off at each injector here. So you got to be careful at this point. So again, 8mm every injector. Take them off, and then you got 2 plugs here. Just be gentle. They sit right down in there. You just got to squeeze that prong in, pull up, get that out of your way. Then see if I can do this one-handed again. What am I caught on? Oh, there we go. There it is. Injector harness. Okay. Now, if you need to do a valve lash adjustment on your Cummins, this is the time to do it. Mine, like I said, only got 20,000 miles on this motor since we put this all back together. And it looks pretty good. There's sludge, no dirtiness. So now to get the rocker box, all we gotta do is take these bolts out. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought there was one back here. So yeah, 6. The one in the very back is kind of hard to get to, but there is one in the very back. So let's get those out and see if we can tell where this thing was leaking. So all the bolts are out. I forgot one earlier. Don't forget this guy here. So you got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a 5th one top, 6 and 7, and the one in the very back set lower like this one. And then, oh, sucker's down for so I popped it off, and if you look, you can see where it was sealed up here where we don't have too much. You can see good seal, a few drops from where I pulled it out. And if you look back here where it's a real mess, let's see if I can get you guys. Sorry. See where the seal broke? It was sealed and then nothing. It was pouring out back there. So, oh, zoom out, zoom out. There we go. So I took it out and I flipped it over, and let me get a wrench. So this would be the back corner here that wasn't sealing up very well. And as you can see, let's see if I can get it to focus. The gaskets, I can't tell if it rolled right there or what, but I mean, there wasn't much to seal. You know, I put this here. I mean, that seal altogether is not very impressive. I thought that was a Mopar seal, but you can definitely tell why it was leaking. So we got it out. Now we got to do is clean it up, put a new gasket. I got a Fel-Pro gasket because I think that was a Mopar gasket, and it's junk. I mean, it's kind of rolled and twisted in a lot of spots. I don't know, but literally, this is all the tools that I use for this job. It's all you'll need, and you don't have to have an impact gun. You don't have to have a cordless ratchet, but you got 10 millimeters, 8 millimeters. You wouldn't need this. That was for my pyrometer. You don't have to have this. I use that to get the hoses off the crankcase ventilation. So really, this right here is all you need to do this job. This gets torqued down to 18 foot-pounds, and I was suspicious that if maybe I forgot to torque it or something, so before I took the bolts out, I checked, and they were torqued still. I don't think 18 foot-pounds is a lot of pressure to seal that thing. And I'm no engineer, but I've fixed a lot of their problems, so I think I'm going to torque it back down to 25. And for you at home, that pretty much, if you don't have a high dollar torque wrench like that, or you know, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter if you torque it. No, it pretty much with a 3/8 ratchet, I mean, it's tight. That's what the torque is. I mean, to break these loose, I had to put a little bit of effort to break them loose with a 10 millimeter and a 3/8 ratchet. So, yeah, if you don't have, that one's a real high dollar torque wrench, I'll tell you. If you don't have a torque wrench, if you do, it's 18 foot-pounds. If you don't, just tighten it down. Tighten it down good and snug. Don't go too far. Strip out the bolt, but yep. So now, reverse of what we did before, put it back together, get the degreaser and a pressure washer out. It should be done. One thing when you're putting these back together, the injector harness nuts here, only snug them down. I mean, lightly snug them down. There's a torque spec out there. Hold on. But I've had more luck just doing it by hand. But I mean, you do not want to torque on these. Even this is a 1/4 inch, and it's a fairly long one. I mean, that's about it right there. Just barely snug them, because don't ask me how, but those will snap right off the top of the injector. So it's all back together. Pressure washed it, got no leaks. Looks good. Got most of the oil off of everything, all the way back in there. It's all cleaned up. So it's not a hard job. You guys saw the tools I used. You know, for a new person, or you know, not a novice mechanic, I guess I would say, I'd probably give yourself the better part of a Saturday or whatever. For a pretty skilled mechanic, 3-4 hours. So not a bad repair. Just a heck of a mess to clean up when it's all over with, but got it all degreased and looking good. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe and always like the channel. I appreciate it.